as a young man, were you a Jerry Springer viewer?
Hated it.
Really? Okay.
Hated it.
Okay. So I got to that point where I hated it, but when it's at its prime, I'm like 15.
Oh, yeah.
16. I might see some obscured boobs, right? Some blurred boobs getting thrown out. There's people throwing chairs at each other and swearing.
Steve.
Like you could buy, and maybe you still can, like the Jerry Springer security t-shirt was a hot item for a while.
Yeah.
Remember those t-shirt stands that would always be in the middle of your mall, right? They would have South Park shirts and wrestling shirts, and often the Jerry Springer security t-shirt. You're looking at me like your mall was classier than that, but not in Oshawa, man. We had the
dirty schwa. Come on, man. Peterborough never has those.
Okay. But Jerry Springer, surprised how many people didn't know this, a mayor of Cincinnati before he had the talk show. And then, at one point, that show, did I mention he died? This is why we're bringing up Jerry Springer.
Just for fun?
Yeah,
you did not mention
reminisce about Jerry Springer.
Jer had passed away.
Yeah, last week, Jerry Springer died at the age of late 70s. And so it was a show, though, that as a young kid and at 15, 16, you're like, this is the greatest thing on television. And at its peak, it had months where it outrated Oprah, which was probably more of a statement about us than
yeah, of course it is.
than him.
To me, it's a hard turn. Society sort of went hard in a different direction.
Right.
Like when you have people chanting because there's a hooker who's fighting your wife on the stage and has lost her dentures. Like it's the hooker with dentures. Yeah. Well, and I was looking I was looking at some of the highlights of the show.
Sure.
And so Steve, or whatever his name was, comes out and he puts the dentures in a glass. And then before he hands it over to her, he holds it up and the fans start chanting and you're like, oh my, hooker, dentures, fighting my wife. How can you not love that?
This is the same time period where I'm watching Stone Cold drink beer and whack people over the head with a chair while Sable's taking her shirt off in the background, right? Like, that's quality television. It is the point where society crumbled, is Jerry Springer, the WWF Attitude Era, Girls Gone Wild tapes, right? Like, this is all at the same time. And, man, it's wild to think that was a guy who ran a city.
Yeah.
And his next career is just like, I wonder if I can get people to come in and talk about their illegitimate children and, well, surprise, we've got them here backstage. Come on out here.
Yeah, well, his biggest thing he did as mayor of Cincinnati was have a cheap trick day. Like, so now in Cincinnati, there's an annual cheap trick day.
Still on the books.
Yeah.
All right.
So there you go. Jerry Springer is responsible for that, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen.
Go on to
now,
have a lot of cheap tricks.
I got that tidbit from WKRP back in the day, so I'm not entirely sure.
It may
not be factual.
Right, okay. I can't believe it, man.
No, but yeah, the highlight that I loved the best was when they had members of the KKK on to debate the Jewish Defense League. And
sounds like a great episode of the Family Feud.
Slap my cheeks, it turned into a brawl. Right?
I can't believe it.
Who knew the JDL and the KKK were going to throw down on Jerry Springer? And you're just like, oh my God, this is so...
And it's 3 p.m. Like, it's not a late night show. It's just middle of the day up against Camilla Scott or whatever the hell else was going on.
Assumed to be Ricky Lake.
Right. Awesome.
Oh, man. It's just, and it was such trash.
Of course it was.
Such trash. And so.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. But again, that's a guy who, yeah, you know what? It comes down to, and forever, back to the Roman times, the Greeks, people want to see freak shows.
Yes.
And no matter what happens.
That's why they're listening to this.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, give the people what they want.
Right.
Yeah, and you go, I want to see the guy who cut both his own legs off because that's what he thought he needed to do for his art. Yeah. And so where you find these people, and I love the idea that these people came out thinking that somehow the Jerry Springer show was going to heal their family. My sister, the stripper, is sleeping with my fourth boyfriend. You're like,
we should go on television and talk about it.
Yes, exactly. And then bring the sister out. And then sister's fighting. And you're like, oh, it's so... It's like, really, it's pulling the curtains back.
You whore.
Yeah, and it's like, it's and it's preying on these stupid people.
Yeah.
And like, do you remember that it was sort of viral bum fights? Do you remember that?
Actually, yes, I do.
You know, just that came out around the same time, right? Late 90s, early 2000s. And you're like, what is happening here? You get the one bum who's going to get a tattoo on his forehead
Winner gets a sandwich.
for a bottle of Absolute or whatever it is. And then you've paid another bum to slap him on the forehead as soon as he comes out. Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, who's watching this? Other than my older brother, who's watching this?
One of those shows that did not get a reboot in 2020s, right? Like,
No, but they did make movies out of Jackass, right?
course.
Which is not that far from it,
No,
right?
it's
So,
not.
you know, how about Matt? How much would it take for you to wet your testicles and then sit on an ice horse?
you can't afford it.
Yes, but this is it, right? Somebody's willing to do it,
Yeah,
Matt.
100%. Oh my God.
That's where we are.
Yeah. We're
And now it just shows up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Or Insta.
Insta.
How about a little Insta Ispo?
A little Insta inspo.
Stupid fucking people.
Rest in peace, Jerry Springer.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Burn!